So considering this, burgeoning challenges of data management and security due to its volume, velocity, and the volatility, since we talked about, BFSI, obviously there are the data is huge. So looking at that, the things now get more complicated for organizations, and organization would not only have to identify the personal data, but they have to secure it, manage it, as well as make sure that they comply to data retention and deletion requirements, right?
Absolutely.
So what kind of automation solution would help in here for organization to ensure meeting compliances with data deletion, retention, as well as all other steps which they need to take care of?
Absolutely. I think that's a very, very essential part of it because if we go through the slide, if you just move across the slide, it touches on the points about the visibility, volume, and velocity. So can you just quickly run through this slide? So this is basically that we have to understand that in our business landscape, whether we are on-prem or on the cloud, we can only manage the data that is visible to us, and most of other data, which is maybe a year old, becomes kind of out of our radar. So there is a lot of historical and legacy data, and the rule talks about that in a way which I will cover in the next steps. But what is more important is at any point of time, we now have to look data across multiple timelines, right? While it is getting collected. So there's a retrospective effect which we have to handle in compliance with this. And then there is a lot of digital transformation happening around us. There is a lot of data sprawl because of which we see a lot of challenges with respect to data surface attacks, people getting the different kind of frauds and scams, ransomware attack, identity thefts. So these are obviously the challenges which now with this act coming into place, these rules coming into place gives us a way to mitigate all of that. So if you can just quickly move to the slide, I will start talking about the different parts of how a data lifecycle should work about, right? I mean, if you understand, and the rule talks about all of them, right? It talks about when you are collecting data, you should go through certain guidelines, right? I mean, the consent, the privacy notice is talking about that you should only collect that part of personal data that is essential and that you have to take a complete itemized kind of a notice, and then you start collecting that. But the real challenge for enterprises is that the rule says that you not only have to inform your new customers who are now going to come to you, but all the customers you already have onboarded, your
Yes.
existing customer base, you need to understand their personal data, their sensitive data. When did they got onboarded? Are they still using it? Are they still a customer or a consumer to your business? Right? If you don't, and once you do that analysis, then you have to seek a fresh consent from them and give them a bouquet of what personal data that you should need, because even maybe 5 years back you have implemented some solution, and now 5 years down the line the systems have changed. You have got an IT landscape or business landscape expanded. So you have to tell your existing users that, okay, I have collected your data 5 years back, and these are the data that you have provided me. Do you give me the permission to keep continuing this data? And if not, the customers can as well withdraw their consent, saying, okay, I don't want to be allowing you use of my personal data. So these are some of the challenges. So organizations have to implement some automation solutions because to take care of all the legacy effect, to take care of how my data is getting stored across my complex business landscape, IT landscape, across multiple my processing partners, my data processing partners, right? I have to make sure that my data is going through this particular life cycle, and we call it a cradle to grave solution. The point data is collected is your birth of the data, till the point your customer is leaving. You have to ensure that his or her data is properly updated, is properly protected, and you are retaining the data even after 1 year of the customer leaving you or disassociating from you. And when you even do clean that data after a year of inactivity, you still have to notify that particular customer, which means you still have to have the contact details or some channels with which you can approach the customer, telephone number or email ID. So this becomes a very critical and complex operational process for organization to understand. So maybe we quickly move to the next slide to understand how this data lifecycle management would be implemented and what kind of sensitive data their assets and formats we have to take care. And as I reminded you, though in this particular act and the rule, it doesn't talk about the specific kind of personal data, whether it is PII or PCI or PHI. If you understand, PII is a personal identifiable information. PCI is related to our financial information related to cards and associated banking industry related sensitive information, and PHI is my healthcare information. The SPDI rules way back in 2011 did already talk about all this thing at that point of time. So we already have now a baseline to start with, but then as I said, in the age of AI, I think we have to be more careful because the rule talks about even when there is algorithmic use of personal data, it should not be abused or used in a way that a personal kind of harm is being harmed to the individuals, right? So we need to understand the organization needs to implement a automation solution where it can do a full discovery and classification of all this sensitive data that you see on the left side. And on the right side are the different formats, the structures, semi-structured, unstructured, and even the AI vector DBs where your data is flowing into, right? So you need to have a very clear view of this while you handle data processing of personal data as to be compliant. So maybe next slide, please. Yeah, and this is the three main categories of our personal and sensitive data, where DPDP will directly be coming, and you have to be complying with that. I just mentioned about the PII, PCI, and PHI data. Uh, right now, there are a certain very specific and sensitive PII. So SPDI even talks about your sexual orientation, your religion. So we need to see whether this SPI is also going to be covered, and we have to wait for the DPP notification. But in other Western countries, there is also a very strict regulation around usage of sensitive PII with respect to race, ethnicity, religion, beliefs, and sexual orientation. But to be sure, PII, PCI, and PHI are something that the rule and the act mandates us to protect, and that's the reason this technical solution that we will give a glimpse about will help us understand and it much better. Isha, I hope that answers the question.